Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily podcast. I'm your host, Neil C. Hughes, and today I've got a fascinating conversation lined up with Ben Meyer from Outlier Ventures. Now, Outlier Ventures is on a mission to drive the Web3 movement forward, and they've got an impressive track record of running 25 cohorts, partnering with various Layer 1 protocols, and raising more than $350 million for their portfolio of companies at pre-seed stage. But in this episode today, Ben is going to share his insights on building a decentralized economy, the challenges that teams are facing, and the support and mentorship programs that Outlier Ventures is providing. And we've got so much more to talk about too. So buckle up and hold on tight, because no matter where you're listening in the world, it's time for me to beam your ears all the way to Boston, where Ben Meyer is waiting to take us on an exciting voyage around the world of Web3. So, a massive warm welcome to the show, Ben. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Ben Meyer, I'm Chief Product Officer at Outlier Ventures. Outlier Ventures is the largest Web3 dedicated accelerator in the world. I actually have a really fun job in the sense that I'm basically in charge of putting together and designing all of our programming and offerings to find the best founders in Web3. And as part of that, basically I'm looking at what are going to be the most interesting areas in the market to be investing into, and also looking at where the supply of founders that are building in this space, and ultimately trying to thread the needle between those two. And obviously looking at the rest of the ecosystem and venture capital and where they're looking to put money to work. So it's a pretty exciting role that I'm able to play a part of. In addition, I oversee a team of experts focused on everything from portfolio fundraising that are providing support to our founders to provide a very nice landscape and network on the investing front when they actually go out to raise, as well as our investment team and our token economies team. Our token economies team covers everything from token design to token engineering, governance, and NFTs as well. And so I've been with Outlier a little over a year now. I came over from Delphi Labs, where I was COO of their in-house incubator. Delphi has been around since 2018 as well, and was kind of third person in there, growing the team to over 50 building projects from the ground up. So I had a really nice time over there as well. And prior to that, I had a long history in financial services, including working at major investment banks, hedge funds as well, and doing everything from investing as well as advising Fortune 500 companies and cross-border transactions, and spent the early part of my career as well in tech and media based out of Asia.
Wow, it sounds like you've got one of the coolest job roles in the world. And just to unpack that a little, for people hearing about you for the first time, can you offer a bit of an overview on Outlier Ventures, especially the accelerator programs, your kind of goals that you've got, and how you're aiming to drive the Web3 movement forward? Because there's so much going on in this area, isn't there?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. So Outlier has been around since 2014. We pivoted to an accelerator model in 2019 during the prior bear market. And there's a few reasons why we decided to do that, but one of the overarching ones was while in our early history we were investing in the space and learning about the early technologies and making an impact with specific projects. Ultimately, we wanted to figure out a way to have the most impact in terms of driving the industry forward, and we found the accelerator model as the best way to do that. And so since then, we've dove fully all the way in, and we've run 25 cohorts to date. We have about close to 221 projects that have come through our accelerator program. We've partnered with many different layer 1 protocols. We've run programs that span across some of the household names. So anyone from Polygon to Filecoin, Polkadot, Hedera, DeFi. We've been running a DeFi program with New Order, as well as IPFS, so a Filecoin based program. And During this time, we've also been able to raise north of 350 million for our portfolio companies at that pre-seed seed stage. And really what Outlier attempts to do is we have a 3-month Basecamp program that we run, and we have a team of close to 100 people now, and it's really made up of it's when you think about an accelerator program generally, accelerators have been around for quite a long time in the more kind of traditional space. But when it comes to Web3, there's a lot of different specific expertise that's required to build in the decentralized economy. And so with that, we provide in-house experts across multiple different areas. So anything from legal, who are providing guidance on structuring and navigating a pretty opaque regulatory framework. They'll provide expertise on deciding which jurisdiction to incorporate, how to successfully launch a token in a legally compliant manner. We have teams that are focused on token economies, as I mentioned before. So helping teams think through what's the best architecture to implement in their project. We have a tech engineering team that will help projects. Some projects come into Outlier and they've already chosen which chain they're going to be building on. Others are trying to figure out what's the best environment, what's the best ecosystem to build their project on. So that team can help in a lot of the different design decisions and product expertise to founders as well. There's a few other areas that are quite unique, obviously, to building in Web3, whether it be projects that employ an NFT strategy, as well as projects building community and attracting new users, bootstrapping. So we have teams that are focused on all of these different capacities, which are really necessary to be able to push projects forward. I think the other thing is the amount of support that we offer teams is really bar none in the industry. Typically, during the course of one cohort, we'll offer close to 250 different calls, one-to-ones with our teams and our subject matter experts. In addition, we'll supplement our program with 50 or 60 mentors as well that will some are from our existing network, we bring in from within, other people from the industry across the board. Some will be focused on go-to-market strategies. Others could be focused on branding. And so you really get a robust environment to really accelerate your roadmap. We often see teams able to achieve incredible progress in 3 months that ordinarily would take close to 12 or 15 months on their own. So, and generally, Outlier, what we do is we're running multiple programs at once. We just finished our Q1 cycle. We're actually just about to launch our Q2 programs, which are going to be focused on digital fashion and luxury with our Farfetch Stream Assembly program. We have a program that's dedicated to DeFi, partnered with New Order. And we also have a few other programs that are in the mix as well. But really exciting times. We have close to 10 more programs that we're going to be launching for between Q3 and Q4 as well this year. And so between looking at our portfolio, we have 221 teams that have come through. Close to half of those have been over the course of the last year, which really kind of just speaks to the amount of time and energy we've taken to scale the program within Outlier and our commitment to kind of building. We think this is the best time to be building in Web3.
It sounds like incredibly exciting times ahead for you guys. And one of the things that stood out for me from the outside looking in was how Outlier Ventures is supporting teams in building a decentralized economy. And I'm curious, are there any key principles or strategies that you employ to ensure the success of these projects?
Sure. And I think when you're thinking about that question, building in a decentralized economy, I think it's incredibly challenging. Oftentimes they talk about startups. The metaphor is building the plane while flying in midair, or laying down the track while the train is actually running. I think it's that, but it's much more. It's taken to the next level. So you think about areas like there's the technical complexities within Web3. So obviously working with smart contracts, which are relatively new, quite challenging and more difficult to understand and implement. You have issues around scalability, obviously issues that around like regulatory uncertainty. You have issues around interoperability, user adoption, security. And I think the other one is around funding and resources. We saw last year funding completely dry up post FTX and founders really kind of scurrying to try to find capital. Other projects that we're building kind of running out of capital. So this is also quite a difficult place to be building given all the volatility. You think about talent acquisition and there's relatively limited pool of skilled developers still, despite the industry being a decade old. I think we're starting to see this obviously improve quite a bit and with more and more people coming in, but this is another limitation. And then obviously like infrastructure limitations. So I think that from our standpoint, we've been around since 2014. We've ridden all the different cycles up and down. And I think the most important thing for us is to have that kind of resiliency and make sure that our founders are really looking at have that kind of long-term approach. And one of the things that we think about, as I mentioned, when we're designing programs, and I can talk about a couple. One in particular is our zero knowledge programming that we started earlier this year. You really want to be building in an area and having the focus and fortitude to think out, not be kind of short term and opportunistic, but have that kind of long term approach. And that's kind of one of the things we thought through when we developed our zero knowledge cohort, which we launched in the fall of this year. We actually just finished that program, and it was quite an innovative program. One, from our perspective, our mission is really to onboard the next billion users into Web3. And from our perspective, two of the key ingredients in order to do so are trying to solve the issues around scalability and privacy. And within ZK as well, there's quite a bit of infrastructure that still needs to get built. So we put together this program, and we wound up working with everyone from ZK Sync to Immutable, Starkware, Aztec, Polygon, Aleo, and Nethermind, some of the smartest minds building it in ZK, to help mentor and really give founders an opportunity to explore all the different design spaces and costs and benefits to kind of working in these different ecosystems. And I think that this is a program that we're going to be running twice a year. And ultimately, our thoughts are we want to be bringing together environments for founders where they're going to be able to flourish and provide them with as much support as possible, understanding that the challenges that they have building in the space.
And with the current global economic landscape combined with the increased focus on resilience, I was also reading before you came on the podcast today how you believe it's crucial for the industry to stress test and develop projects that can actually withstand future cycles. Can you expand on this for anyone that's not read that?
Yeah, so I think thinking about like I mentioned of all the different issues that founders really face when building in Web3, I think we started to see some of those kind of cracks occur, particularly last year. That being said, we have seen quite a bit of hacks, smart contract hacks, and I think when you're thinking about trying to onboard the next billion users and getting different jurisdictions and governments comfortable with building and creating policy for companies and individuals to take advantage of a lot of the benefits that decentralized finance applications provide. Ultimately, we need protocols and we need projects that provide an environment where you don't have to worry that these projects will get hacked on a regular basis and whatnot. And so I think we're at a state now in the market where we've we've played this cycle already, where I think we're at the point where we built the sandboxes. We've made a lot of improvement in terms of where the technology has developed. However, now it's imperative for us to onboard that next generation of users. And unless there's enough faith in this technology, that's not going to happen. So I think we're getting there, but we still have a lot of work to do.
And I'm curious, how are you seeing DeFi address and mitigate many of these challenges that we're facing right now, particularly in terms of things like transparency, auditability, and privacy?
Yeah, so it's a great question. I think when you think about transparency, so DeFi is built on public blockchains. So that means obviously all of the transactions are recorded on a public ledger. And that transparency allows users to verify the accuracy of financial transactions. And this in turn helps to prevent fraud or manipulation. When you think about auditability, smart contracts govern DeFi protocols, and that code is open source and available for inspection. So when you have developers or auditors or users, they're all able to scrutinize those contracts for the potential of any kind of flaws or vulnerabilities. So you have this kind of audit trail. When you think about privacy is an area that we're still obviously working through within crypto. And this is an area that our DeFi program is particularly focused on. But DeFi platforms are transparent, but we can build in privacy functionality. And ultimately, again, going back to onboarding a significant number of users, until we actually incorporate those privacy components, as I mentioned, it's going to be very difficult to onboard corporations and a lot of users who ultimately don't want to have their information public to the rest of the world. So we do now have technology to bring these kind of benefits to users across the space as well. I would say DeFi also provides platforms that can provide censorship resistance, which is also incredibly important. We see news of this all the time in terms of banks ultimately taking control of users' funds in certain circumstances. None of this is possible in DeFi as well. And then you think about programmability, being able to create complex financial instruments and services through programmable smart contracts. Developers are able to create new financial products and services that can address specific needs of users. And then I think lastly, DeFi also offers the benefit of financial inclusion. I think when we're sitting here, either in the US or in the UK, where access to banking is quite readily available, it's not always the case when looking at emerging markets. And so we're big proponents of DeFi being and offering services to underserved or underbanked communities to access financial services, and really helping to bridge that gap between traditional financial systems and those who have been excluded from them.
And on the behalf of every startup founder listening that maybe wants to appear on your radar, I'm curious, what criteria does Outlier Ventures use to select projects, and how do you evaluate their potential for success and long-term impact?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, we're operating at a pretty early stage at Outlier. We're focused primarily on pre-seed, seed stage. And as far as the types of things that we do look for in founders, ultimately, one of the most important ones, I would say, and this is important for any founder building a startup in any environment, but I do believe that this kind of grit or mental toughness is definitely one that is even more important in crypto than anything else. I think also being able to adapt. One of the things that we find during our program is oftentimes teams will come into our program and have a certain architecture, certain strategy, certain product offering, and oftentimes somewhere during the course of the program, they'll decide to kind of change orientations altogether. and it could be even like a slight tweak, but it really just kind of opens them up to significant success. And so I think the other one would be also around kind of adaptability and coachability. It's great to have conviction. At the same time, in an environment that's constantly changing, I think it's always important to also be open to both in terms of understanding where the market's evolving to, but also understanding where these kind of adaptations can ultimately propel your project forward. So those are some of the important ones. Obviously, coming in with experience and deep expertise in that particular area are also important components as well.
And I was also recently reading about the Aptos X Outlier Move Accelerator program. Can you tell me a little bit more about that and the role it plays in supporting the development of Web3 projects and, of course, technologies?
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, talking about Aptos a little bit, I think it's a new program that we're currently recruiting for. The program will be launching in mid-July. And it's a really exciting program. Aptos takes a bit of a different approach as a monolithic layer 1 blockchain towards development. And some of the areas that really struck a chord with us are, its commitment to kind of mainstreaming Web3. So it really kind of aligned with our mission generally as well. There's a real focus on user friendliness, easy key management, and providing kind of a more of a safer Web3, so protection against unintentional transactions, transaction replay and simulation, and scalability supporting mass adoption and use cases. I would say with respect to the program itself, ultimately, we're really excited to be working with Aptos Foundation, who's dedicated to supporting the development of the Aptos protocol. And the idea here is to unlock a blockchain that has seamless usability, and Aptos with its Move language. Ultimately, it's designed to evolve and improve performance and strengthen and user safeguards. And ultimately, we're going to be working with them on accelerating startups focused on really redefining the Web3 user experience across gaming, social, DeFi, NFTs, and infrastructure. So it's quite an exciting program.
And I'm curious, are there any other challenge or opportunities in the Web3 land space that have caught your attention at the moment? And how do Outlier Ventures, various accelerators, aim to tackle some of these issues?
Yeah, so I think there's a few things. So in my role, I'm constantly talking to different layer ones and different protocols, just in terms of potentially partnering with us. And one of the issues that constantly comes up is ecosystem development. I think ecosystem development is one of the hardest things to build within crypto. It's really that kind of cold start problem where you ultimately need to. It's almost like building a country from scratch. And I think one of the things that we're able to do at Outlier is work with protocols and work with ecosystems to accelerate some of the key primitives that can provide that foundation to really move their entire ecosystem forward. And I think that while we'll typically work with 8 to 10 startups in a certain cohort, while that's not building a few hundred, I do think that again, laying that foundation can really be a catalyst to further development for specific ecosystems. The other area that I would say has a ton of potential is this intersection between AI and crypto. There's an idea that we've come up with, what our founder Jamie calls the 100x founder, and basically it's an entrepreneur who can use AI to get to a skills and knowledge baseline to quickly get up to speed on any topic affecting their business and be more productive than ever before. And a specific example would be that Web3 founders can now be more efficient with information processing, design making, and making informed decisions that ordinarily would take a much deeper bench or a lot longer to do so. And what this allows them to do is focus their time on building and launching new projects and products and finding product market fit faster. And while AI is not a silver bullet, it does give the ability to make an excellent founder exceptional. So I think we're going to continue to see more and more convergence between AI and crypto. And we're really excited about the developments that we're seeing there, and even exploring some opportunities focused specifically on AI.
And adoption in this space is always a hot topic. So finally, can I ask you to just briefly touch on the key role of zero knowledge when we're talking about mass adoption of Web3?
Yeah, so zero knowledge is, I think there's a few things as it relates to zero knowledge. When we started talking about it, we ultimately saw a problem, which is that decentralization and security are the core of what defines Web3. But these attributes come at the price of scalability, which is required to onboard the next billion users. And blockchains are transparent by nature, but at the same time, putting data on chain, making it public knowledge, limits the range of applications that can be built on Web3. And so we see ZK rollups enabling dApps to scale while benefiting from the secure and decentralized infrastructure of the underlying blockchain through outsourced verifiable computation. And ZK enables users to interact with Web3 while protecting sensitive information about personally identifiable information through private and verifiable computation. So I think that there's quite a bit of different opportunities here. When you think through how we've kind of broken it down, there has been a focus on infrastructure and tooling, SDKs and APIs, and teams building their own servers, for proof generation, providing cloud services, full stack solution for ZK applications, including hardware, resources, and custom systems. And then I think there's some other areas like authenticators. So providing authentication attributes about where you can provide attributes about yourself while preserving data sovereignty, things like on-chain reputation, private airdrops, IP protection. And ultimately, as I said earlier, I think we see ZK providing some of the key ingredients to really unlocking some of these various use cases and apps as it relates to scalability and privacy. So really excited in terms of what some of the new projects that are going to be built as the zero knowledge landscape continues to develop.
Well, a big thank you for sharing both your time and your insights today. But I'm going to ask you one final thing to leave everyone listening today and that is either a book that has inspired you that we can add to our Amazon wish list, or a song that we can add to our Spotify playlist. All I'm going to ask is, what are you going to leave us with today?
Sure. So, a book that actually I explored, I was reading recently is The 90s by Chuck Klosterman. And for me, it was a great opportunity to kind of revisit the 90s. I was a teenager during that time, but also to kind of think through, it was really reminiscent of, to a certain degree, a lot of what we're going through currently. I think during that era, we constantly heard this mantra that the internet is coming, internet's coming, internet's coming. And I feel like we're in a very similar state, particularly in Web3 currently. And while we are in a digital age as of today, during that era, obviously, I would say it was the last decade where it was effectively a bridge between the current digital age and the prior, where, when you look at all the different technology, if you think about even about music, you had a song like Nevermind being produced during that time, and this was produced on records, cassette tapes, compact discs, and later on Napster. So the evolution that happened during that time was pretty incredible. And I think we're at a very interesting time, like I said, right now within crypto as well. And it's definitely a great book to explore.
Awesome. Well, I'll be adding that straight to my, not only the Amazon wishlist, but I'll be checking them out myself. And for anyone listening, just wanting to find out more information about anything we talked about today, anything Outlier Ventures related, Where would you point everyone listening to?
Yeah, you can reach me on Twitter, so Ben Meyer 154 or LinkedIn as well.
Awesome. Well, I love chatting with you today about the Aptos Outlier Move Accelerator, how you're intending to support teams to drive a new decentralized economy, and also why now more than ever the industry needs to focus on stress testing and building resilient projects that can withstand future cycles. But more than anything, just thank you for bringing the topic to life and sharing your story today.
Thanks so much. Appreciate being with you.
So a big thank you to Ben Meyer from Outlier Ventures for joining us today and providing valuable insights into the world of Web3, decentralization, accelerator programs, and how they're supporting and mentoring innovative teams. So hopefully you've enjoyed the conversation, gained some valuable knowledge on the future of Web3 technologies, the role of accelerators in shaping the industry. And please, if you've enjoyed yourself, leave a rating and review. Don't forget to subscribe. And I also cordially invite you to join me again tomorrow, where we'll do it all again. But more than anything, just a big thank you for listening. And until next time, don't be a stranger.